Hello everybody.
Next up we play host to Burnley at the Olympic. Kick-off's 2 p.m. and it's one of those played on Sunday thanks to Europe but not on the box matches. And apart from stuff going on out towards Clacton, if that's your parish, there's no engineering work to speak of to mess up your journey. Saints be praised. So Burnley then. Well, it's not been the most spectacular of seasons for them, it's fair to say. Their results list is plastered with red ink to the extent that they've won just the 3 all season. Away at Luton 2-1, home to Sheffield United 5-0, and possibly surprisingly 2-0 at Fulham. They managed to eke out a few draws away at Forest and Brighton and at home to Fulham and Luton. Other than that, it's been losses all the way, too numerous to mention individually, really. Unsurprisingly, they've lost 7 of their last 9, leaving them second from bottom. Above Sheffield United, who, hilariously, have a goal difference of -50 to Burnley's -35. Both are on 13 points from 27 games played, which is 7 points behind Luton, and 11 points behind Nottingham Forest, who currently occupy the safety position of 17th. So at this point, one would normally suggest that both Burnley and the Sheffield Hypocrites were, to all intents and purposes, down. However, with Everton only a point clear of Forest, you can add Lancashire and Yorkshire to the list of places that will be keeping an anxious eye on the results of the next round of profit and sustainability hearings. On the player front, it's been another quietish week for Daisy. Whilst they did bring in 4 players on permanent deals, they were all under 21 squad signings. They did, however, bring in a couple of loan signings. Central defender Maxime Esteve came in on a deal with an option to buy from Montpellier. He's been capped at French under-20 and just the once at under-21 level. On arrival, he was quoted as saying something along the lines of, "Vincent Kompany spoke positively about the project here, and I want to be a part of it," which suggests that they probably removed all the newspapers carrying copies of the league table from the Turf Moor reception area that day. The other loan signing was right-back Lorenz Assignon, who arrived from Rennes. The deal again coming with an option to buy. Now, unlike the other chap, I haven't come across any quotes from the player himself, but if he mentions qualifying for Europe, Kompany will have turned out to be a better snake oil salesman than I ever gave him credit for. Assignon has yet to be capped at any level by anyone. Their team news is that they'll be without long-term absentees Ramsey, Redmond, Foster, Koleosho and Bayer, though the squad will be improved by the return of Brownhill from suspension after receiving a red card a couple of weeks back. I think that's enough of them, don't you? So we'll move on to the wild and wacky world of association football. And there's been even weirder stuff coming out of Anfield ahead of their match against Man City this weekend. Terence Trent D'Arby, who, according to Klopp, is the best fullback in the entire universe honest, despite the overwhelming evidence to the contrary, made an ill-judged attempt to engage Manchester City in a spot of mind games, despite being singularly ill-equipped for such stuff, intellectually speaking. Alexander-Arnold stated that Liverpool's trophies mean more than those won by Man City. Haaland's response was something along the lines of, "Well, how would he know?" And to which he probably added, "Meh, whatever." Meanwhile, equally hilariously, over at Spurs, Postecoglou came up with one of the quotes of the season in pointing out that a top 4 finish wasn't a Willy Wonka golden ticket. Rumours that the Spurs board have now been out purchasing as many chocolate bars as possible to try and get something shiny for the trophy room are very silly, but probably accurate. And so to us. Well, disappointing though Thursday was, I don't think there's any need to panic just yet. The worst thing about the result would be the knowledge amongst the players that Freiburg were there for the taking. Now, the cautious approach that we saw on Thursday night probably resulted from the team overthinking the complexities of European football, the mindset clearly being that we needed to travel back to Blighty still in the tie. Now that we are, sort of, but it seems not to have occurred to anyone that we could equally have achieved that result by going out there and winning. I mean, if you win both legs, you go through. This mindset was best exemplified by what I thought was a worrying substitution of Phillips for Ward-Prowse shortly after we went behind, as if to say, we'll take 1-0 all day. The other comment made was the replacement of Paquetá by Antonio, which the commentary team on the telly reckoned happened about 20 minutes too late. Now I disagree. I make it half an hour. The one bit of homework Freiburg had done was to target the Brazilian so that every time he got the ball he was surrounded by maybe 3 players, maybe more. Now, this was quite frustrating, and a frustrated Paquetá equals an inevitable yellow at some stage. Following the card, he wandered round the place with body language similar to that used by Kevin the teenager, the only bit missing being the half-broken voice proclaiming to the world that it's so unfair. Antonio would have given them a completely new set of circumstances to deal with, had he not had fewer than 5 minutes in which to do his stuff. Which brings us on inevitably to the referee. Now, until about 10 minutes to go, I thought he'd had a good game. Yeah, there was a touch of the arrogant Mike Deans about his manner, but unlike the obnoxious self-publicising fraud, Hernandez did at least adhere to the laws of the game. For a while. The warning signs were there when Bowen got taken out midway through a dangerous run on goal, only for Hernandez to turn a blind eye to the clear and obvious foul. And the penalty? Well, I thought it was a penalty. Everyone in the ground thought it was a penalty. VAR definitely thought it was a penalty. Unfortunately, Hernandez decided that this was his chance to make a name for himself, and decided to uphold his original and totally incorrect decision, making up some imaginary stuff from Souček as justification. It was embarrassing nonsense, which shows that despite being light years ahead of us in refereeing standards, the rest of UEFA are not immune to the actions of a rogue official acting with his own agenda as a priority. Our team news is that Cornet will not be available to face his old club, whilst Aguirre was missing on Thursday due to some unknown issue for which details at the time of writing have not been forthcoming. Emerson's groin saw his withdrawal on Thursday, so he too is a doubt. Other than that, it's a fairly full squad to select from. I'd prefer us to go out on Sunday with a strong team, but I expect some rotation may occur with 1-0 next Thursday. Maybe a rare start for Antonio, perhaps. So to the prediction. Well, this is kind of the ideal game to play between European fixtures, but, like Brentford the other week, much will depend on the start. We start the front foot, and we should win quite easily. On that basis, I'll be placing the £2.50 I was going to spend on chocolate bars for Tottenham, on a wager that we will prevail with a home win. Let's call it 3-1 to us, please, Mr. Winston, and I'll send Daisy round with the money later on. Enjoy the game.